Commander Tae-jin stood at the large window of the ship Harmony. He watched the colorful swirls of the nebula that marked the border between human space and the Vexar Dominion. The sight was beautiful, but his mind was heavy with worry. Humans had joined the Galactic Concord almost 100 years ago. Back then, they were full of hope. They wanted to learn from older alien races and find their place among the stars. But things had not gone as they hoped. "Another message from Earth Command," said Lieutenant Bay, handing Tae-jin a small data pad. "Our orders are confirmed." Tae-jin nodded and took the pad. The words on the screen made it official. This was not just another diplomatic mission. This would be the last one. For decades, the older species of the Concord, the tall, blue-skinned Vexar, the insect-like Lumari, and the gaseous Drath, had treated humans poorly. They used humans as workers, soldiers, and engineers, but never as equals. They took Earth's resources and called them community assets. When humans made scientific discoveries, other species quickly took credit. The worst part was the tone they used when speaking to humans, like adults talking to small children, always saying how humans were doing so well for such a young species, always patting themselves on the back for guiding the primitive humans. Dr. Yun-ha entered the viewing room. She was Earth's top expert on alien biology and behavior. For years, she had gathered proof of how the Concord exploited not just humans, but other young species too. "Are you ready for tomorrow?" Tae-jin asked her. "I've been ready for years," she said, her voice firm. "I've watched them take our work and call it their own. I've seen them strip our colonies of resources and give us nothing in return." She touched the screen of her own datapad, showing images of human scientific outposts being inspected by Concord forces. "Do you think they'll listen this time?" Tae-jin asked. Yun-ha shook her head. "They never do. They'll smile and nod and tell us to be patient. They'll say we're too young to understand galactic politics. This time is different," Tae-jin replied, his voice calm but strong. "This time we're not asking." He moved to another window, one that looked out at the rest of their small fleet. On the surface, it was just 5 human diplomatic ships, the normal escort for an important mission. But these ships were different. They were built in secret, far from the watching eyes of the Concord. Their weapons were hidden, their real power was masked, and they were not alone. "How many of our ships are in position?" Tae-jin asked. "All of them," Yun-ha answered. "Over 300 vessels in strategic locations across Concord space, plus the Teller and Novari ships." The Teller were a reptilian species who had joined the Concord only 20 years after humans. The Novari were a crystalline race with amazing mental powers. Both had been treated just as badly as humans. Both had finally had enough. "And the Concord has no idea?" Tae-jin confirmed. "None," said Yun-ha. "They still believe we only have the 50 ships they allowed us to build. They have no clue about our hidden shipyards beyond the Oort cloud." The door slid open again, and Captain Hee-jun entered. He commanded the Harmony and would be responsible for getting them safely to the Concord Council meeting. "We'll reach the Council station in 10 hours, Commander," he reported. "The Concord greeting party is sending the usual welcome messages." "Any sign they suspect anything?" Tae-jin asked. "None," Hee-jun smiled slightly. "They're sending their usual speeches about how honored they are to welcome representatives of humanity's promising young civilization." Tae-jin nodded. That sounded right. The Concord loved to remind humans of their youth at every chance. "Let's review the plan once more," he said, leading them to a secure meeting room. Inside, a holographic display showed the Council station, a massive structure shaped like a wheel, spinning slowly in space. Hundreds of ships from different species docked at its outer rim. "Our diplomatic team will enter as planned," Tae-jin explained. "Representative Han Jun will address the Council and present our evidence of treaty violations. When they refuse to acknowledge our concerns and they will refuse, he'll give the signal." The hologram changed to show hundreds of dots representing ships, positioned all across Concord space. "At that moment, our hidden fleet will reveal itself. Admiral Sung Min will lead the operation from the Retribution. Primary targets are military installations, weapons platforms, and communication hubs. Casualties? Captain He-jun asked. Minimal. To none, Tae-jin answered firmly. We're not starting a war. We're ending one that they've been waging against us through politics and economics. Our ships will use the new EMP weapons to disable rather than destroy. The hologram shifted again, showing Allied ships marked in different colors. The Teller and Novari will move simultaneously. Together, we'll control all major transit points within 6 hours. Dr. Yun-ha added, and our message will be clear. A new era has begun, one of true equality, not exploitation hidden behind fancy words. As they finished reviewing the plan, Tae-jin looked at his small team. They represented years of careful planning, of humans working quietly while appearing to accept their place in the conquered. Get some rest, he told them. Tomorrow, everything changes. Later, alone in his quarters, Tae-jin opened a small box. Inside was a metal badge that had belonged to Captain Ji-ho, commander of the research station that had been raided by Concord forces. Ji-ho had been executed for trying to protect his people and their work. Tae-jin pinned the badge inside his uniform jacket close to his heart. We were patient, he said softly. We were tolerant. We tried to work within their system. He looked out his window at the stars. But our tolerance has reached its end. In the darkness of space, unknown to the conquered, hundreds of human ships waited silently for the signal. Advanced ships that primitive humans weren't supposed to be able to build. Weapons that simple humans weren't supposed to understand. The oldest species in the galaxy were about to learn a painful lesson. Humanity's patience had been a choice, not a weakness. Their cooperation had been offered freely, not because they had no alternative, and no species would ever forget the moment when humanity's tolerance finally snapped. The Concord Council Station was huge. It spun slowly in space, looking like a giant wheel with spokes. At the center was a massive dome where the council met. The station was designed to make visitors feel small and weak. Representative Han Jun stood tall despite this. He had spent 20 years in Concord politics. He knew their games. He knew how they looked down on humans. Today, that would end. The human delegation may approach, announced the council speaker, a tall Lumari whose insect-like body towered over the humans. Han Jun walked forward with Dr. Yun-ha and 2 aides. They carried data pads with evidence collected over decades. They had proof of broken promises, stolen technologies, and human colonies stripped of their resources without fair payment. The council chamber held representatives from 37 species. The 7 elder races sat on raised platforms. Everyone else sat below them. Humans were seated near the bottom alongside other young species. High Counselor Zix of the Vexar looked down at the humans with 6 eyes that blinked in sequence. His blue skin had a faint glow that all Vexar had when they felt superior, which was almost always when dealing with humans. Representative Han Jun, we understand you have concerns to present, Zix said, making the word concerns sound like complaints. Han Jun nodded. For 97 years, humanity has been a loyal member of the conquered. We have followed your rules. We have been patient. We have been tolerant. His voice was calm and strong. That tolerance ends today. Murmurs spread through the chamber. The Drath representative, a swirling mass of green gas in a containment suit, moved forward. Such dramatic statements, the Drath said, its voice coming through a translator. This is why we say humans are too emotional to handle. Real galactic politics. Han Jun didn't respond to the insult. Instead, he activated his data pad. A large hologram appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed a human research station orbiting a distant moon. This was Outpost Sigma, a scientific research station, Han Jun explained. Our scientists were studying advanced propulsion methods. The hologram changed to show Concord security ships surrounding the station. Armed troops in Concord uniforms boarded the station. 6 months ago, Concord forces raided this legal research facility. They claimed they were conducting a routine inspection under Treaty Article 94. Now the hologram showed Concord troops taking research materials, computer cores, and prototype engines. They took everything. All research, all prototypes. Wendy, The station commander, Captain Ji Ho, demanded to see their authorization. This happened. The next images made even some council members shift uncomfortably. Captain Ji Ho was shown being beaten, then executed for obstruction when he tried to protect his people and their work. 26 human scientists were taken for questioning. They have not been seen since. Han Jun continued, his voice still calm, but his eyes burning with controlled anger. High Counselor Zix waved a long, thin arm. If proper procedures were not followed, an investigation can be. Han Jun cut him off. This was not an isolated incident. More holograms appeared, showing different human colonies and research stations being raided, resources being taken, technologies being confiscated, all under the excuse of Concord regulations that somehow only seem to apply to humans and other young species. For nearly a century, we have filed complaints through proper channels. We have been told to be patient, to wait our turn, to trust the wisdom of the elder races, Han Jun said. He then pulled out a thick document bound in ceremonial earth leather. This is the original treaty that brought Earth into the Concord. Let me read from Section 12. All member species shall be afforded equal protection, equal representation, and equal opportunity within Concord space. Han Jun looked up at the elder races. You have broken your own treaty, not once, not occasionally, but systematically, deliberately, and constantly for 97 years. High Counselor Zix's skin glow intensified, a sign of anger in Vexar physiology. Your species is young and emotional, he said dismissively. You should be grateful for our guidance. Without us, you would still be confined to your single world, playing with your primitive technologies. The Lumari representative clicked her mandibles in agreement. Humans have been in space for barely 200 years. The Vexar have sailed, the stars for 50,000 years, the Drath for even longer. You cannot expect to be treated as equals when you are still children in galactic terms. Han Jun's expression didn't change. He had expected this exact response. It was the same, one humans always received. We have one final piece of evidence to present, he said. Dr. Yunha stepped forward. She activated her own data pad. A new hologram appeared, showing genetic research files. These are gene sequences from 50 different species, including all elder races, she explained in a clear voice. Our research has proven that in terms of cognitive ability, there is no significant difference between human brains and those of the elder races. The only difference is time. Not capacity, not potential, just time. Now the murmurs in the chamber grew louder. This was dangerous talk. Furthermore, Yunha continued, we have evidence that the elder races have deliberately suppressed technologies developed by younger species. Not because these technologies were dangerous, but because they would have allowed us to advance too quickly. High Counselor Zix stood up, his full height impressive and intimidating. This presentation is over. These humans spread dangerous lies and challenge the natural order of the Concord. Han Jun looked at Zix calmly. Is allowing the truth to be spoken so threatening to you? You will withdraw these accusations immediately, Zix demanded. Han Jun shook his head. No, we will not withdraw. We will not apologize. We will not ask. Nicely one more time. He turned to address the entire council. For 97 years, humanity has asked for what was promised in our treaty. Today we are done asking. Han Jun nodded to his aide, who activated a small communication device. Since reasoned dialogue has failed, Han Jun said evenly, humanity will now demonstrate why tolerance should not be mistaken for weakness. For a moment nothing happened. The council chamber was silent. High Counselor Zix began to laugh. Is this your great moment? A dramatic speech with no... Every communication device in the chamber suddenly activated. Emergency signals flashed, on screens. Council members looked around in confusion as their personal devices filled with urgent messages. A Drath security officer rushed into the chamber. High Council, we have a situation. Unidentified ships are appearing throughout Concord space, hundreds of them. What? Zix demanded. Whose ships? The security officer's next words fell like stones in the silent chamber. They're human ships. High Counselor. But they're not like any human vessels we've seen before. They're everywhere. Han Jun's face showed no surprise, no triumph, no emotion at all. Now, he said quietly, we will talk about new terms for our continued cooperation as equals. Admiral Sung Min stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Retribution. The ship was the pride of humanity's secret fleet, a vessel that wasn't supposed to exist. For years, humans had built these ships in hidden shipyards, far from the watching. Eyes of the Conquered. All ships report ready, Admiral, said Commander Dae-hyun, her second-in-command. We are in position. Sung Min nodded. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and short gray hair. She had served in Earth's space forces for 30 years. She had watched the Conquered treat humans like children for too long. Status of Conquered defense systems? She asked. Just as we expected, Dae-hyun replied. Their weapons are powered down. Their shields are at minimal levels. They never expected an attack from a primitive species like us. Sung Min allowed herself a small smile. The Concord's greatest weakness was their pride. They truly believed humans were no threat. Signal all ships, she ordered. Execute Operation Awakening. Across Conquered space, hundreds of human ships suddenly appeared. They had been hiding behind moons, inside asteroid fields, and in the shadow of gas giants. Now they revealed themselves. These weren't the simple ships the Conquered had allowed humans to build. These vessels were sleek, powerful, and armed with technologies the young humans weren't supposed to have. At a key defense station near the Vexar homeworld, Captain Kwan's ship, the Defiance, dropped out of stealth mode. The station's crew barely had time to send an alarm before the Defiance fired its EMP weapons. The station's lights flickered and went dark. No one was hurt, but the station was now useless. Target neutralized, Kwan reported. Moving to secondary objective. Similar scenes played out at hundreds of locations. Human ships appeared without warning. They disabled Conquered military installations, took control of communication relays, and secured major transportation hubs. Back on the Retribution, Admiral Sung Min watched the tactical display. Green dots representing human ships moved with perfect coordination. Red dots showing Concord military assets turned gray as they were neutralized. Teller fleet is moving into position, reported the communications officer. They've taken control of the main trading hub in Sector 7. The Teller were reptilian allies who had suffered under Conquered rule just as humans had. Now they were rising up alongside humanity. And the Novari? Sung Min asked. Their crystal ships have secured the wormhole network, Dae-hyun answered. No Conquered reinforcements can use the faster travel routes. Sung Min nodded with satisfaction. The plan was working perfectly. In just 2 hours, human forces and their allies had taken control of all strategic points in Conquered space. And they had done it without a single death. Incoming transmission from the Vexar Defense Fleet, said the communications officer. They're demanding we stand down immediately. Put them on screen, Sung Min ordered. The angry face of a Vexar fleet commander appeared on the main view screen. His blue skin was glowing brightly with rage. This is Fleet Commander Zixtar of the Vexar Defense Force. Your actions are an act of war. Power down your weapons and surrender, or face immediate destruction. Sung Min looked at the Vexar calmly. This is Admiral Sung Min of the Earth Alliance. We have no wish for war or bloodshed, but we will no longer accept being treated as lesser beings. You dare, the Vexar began. I suggest you check your tactical displays, Sung Min interrupted. Your main fleet is currently surrounded by our ships. Your defense stations have been disabled. Your communication network is under our control. You have no reinforcements coming. The Vexar's face showed shock as he checked his own screens. It was all true. His mighty fleet was trapped. This is impossible, he whispered. How could humans build such a fleet without our knowledge? The same way we've done many things without your knowledge, Sung Min replied. By being consistently underestimated. On the council station, panic had spread as reports came in from across Conquered space. Emergency lights flashed. Security forces ran in all directions. Council members demanded answers that no one had. In the council chamber, Representative Han Jun stood calmly in the center of the chaos. He had not moved since the operation began. "What have you done?" demanded High Counselor Zix, his voice shaking with rage. "We have changed the balance of power," Han Jun answered simply. "Nothing more." "This is rebellion. This is war," shouted the Lumari representative. Han Jun shook his head. "No, this is a negotiation. You were not willing to speak to us as equals. Now you have no choice." On a secure channel, Han Jun contacted Admiral Sung Min. "The fleet is in position," she reported. "All primary objectives secured. Minimal resistance encountered." "Casualties?" Han Jun asked. "None," Sung Min answered with pride. "The EMP weapons worked perfectly. We disabled their systems without harming anyone." Han Jun nodded with approval. That had been a key part of the plan. Humans wanted respect, not revenge. They wanted to change the system, not destroy it. "And our allies?" he asked. "The Teller and Novari ships have joined our formation as planned," Sung Min replied. "They've suffered under the Concord even longer than we have. Their forces have performed even better than expected." Other young species had watched the operation with amazement. Some were already sending messages of support. They too had been waiting for someone to stand up to the elder races. Back in the council chamber, Han Jun addressed the stunned council members. "For nearly a century, you have taken our resources, stolen our technologies, and treated us as lesser beings. Today, that ends." He activated a holographic display showing the current positions of all ships in conquered space. The elder races gasped as they saw how completely they had been outmaneuvered. "We do not wish for war," Han Jun continued. "We wish for what was promised to us when we joined the Concord: equality, respect, and fair treatment." High Counselor Zix had regained some of his composure. "You cannot maintain this position forever. Even with your impressive fleet, you are outnumbered." Han Jun smiled. "Are we? Check your intelligence reports again. Count how many ships we have, and then ask yourself, if we could build this many without your knowledge, how many more might there be that you haven't seen yet?" The threat was clear. The humans had proven they were far more capable than the Conquered had believed. Who knew what other surprises they might have? "What do you want?" asked the Drath representative, its gaseous form swirling with agitation. "A new agreement," Han Jun replied. "One that treats all species as equals. One that shares resources fairly. One that respects the rights and sovereignty of all members." He placed a datapad on the central table. "Our terms are detailed here. President Min Jae of Earth will arrive tomorrow to discuss them in full. I suggest you read them carefully." As Han Jun turned to leave, High Counselor Zix called out, "Why should we negotiate under threat? This is not diplomacy." Han Jun looked back at him. "We tried diplomacy for nearly 100 years. You ignored us. Now we have your attention." Space. The human fleet maintained its positions. The ships formed a net around all major conquered facilities. They made no aggressive moves, but their message was clear. The time of human submission was over. Admiral Sung Min looked out at the stars from her flagship. After years of planning and preparation, the moment had finally come. Humanity had revealed its true strength, and the galaxy would never be the same again. 24 hours after human ships took control of Concord space, the council station was quiet. The panic had ended. Now there was only waiting. The Concord Council chamber had been changed. Workers had removed the raised platforms where the elder races used to sit above everyone else. Now all seats were on the same level. It was a small change, but with a big meaning. No species would look down on another anymore. President Min Jae of Earth walked into the chamber. He was an older man with a calm face and gray hair. Behind him came the leaders of the Teller and Novari, species that had joined humans in breaking free from Concord control. The elder races were already waiting. They tried to look proud, but everyone could see their worry. For thousands of years, they had been in charge. Now, in just one day, everything had changed. "Thank you for agreeing to meet," President Min Jae said as he took his seat. His voice was polite but firm. High Counselor Zix of the Vexar did not look happy about the new seating arrangement. "We had little choice," he said bitterly. "Your ships control our space. Our military is disabled." "You always had a choice," Minjay replied. "You could have treated us as equals when we asked nicely. For nearly 100 years we asked nicely." The teller leader, Chief Zan, nodded in agreement. His scaled skin shimmered in the light. "The teller asked for 200 years before that. You never listened." "The past cannot be changed," said the Novari leader, Elder Krill. Her crystalline body reflected rainbow colors as she spoke. "But the future can. That is why we are here." President Min Jae placed a datapad on the table. "Let me be clear," he said, his voice carrying to every corner of the chamber. "This is not a conquest. This is a correction." He activated the pad, and a hologram appeared. It showed the outline of a new agreement. "We propose a new organization, the Galactic Union," Min Jae explained. "It will replace the Concord. In this new union, all species will have equal representation. Resources will be fairly distributed. Technology will be shared for the benefit of all. No species will be permitted to exploit another." The Drath representative's gaseous form swirled with agitation. These terms would strip the elder races of their rightful authority. "We have guided the galaxy for millennia." "And how well has that guidance worked?" asked Chief Zan of the teller. "Half the known galaxy lives in poverty, while the elder races grow rich from their resources." "Your guidance has held back progress," added Elder Krill of the Novari. "You suppress technologies that might let younger species advance too quickly." High Counselor Zix leaned forward. "You cannot dictate terms to us. We founded the Concord, millennia before your species achieved spaceflight." Minjay smiled without warmth. "And yet here we are. Your age did not grant you wisdom, only arrogance. You believed our patience was weakness. You mistook our tolerance for submission. That was your mistake." He touched another control, and the screens around the chamber changed. They showed Earth's hidden weapon platforms moving into position around key conquered worlds. The platforms were not firing, only showing that they could. "But make no mistake," Minjay continued. "These terms are non-negotiable. Humanity and our allies have the strength to enforce them, and we will do so if necessary." The chamber grew quiet as the elder races realized how completely they had been outmaneuvered. "How did you build such weapons without our knowledge?" asked the Lumari representative, her insect-like eyes blinking rapidly. "Our monitoring stations should have detected such construction." "The same way we built our fleet," Minjay replied. "By being cleverer than you gave us credit for. By working in places you never thought to look. By using technologies you believed we couldn't understand." He stood up and walked around the table. "For a century you've been stealing human innovations, while calling us primitive. Did you really think we showed you everything we created? That we shared our best ideas with those who looked down on us?" The elder races looked uncomfortable. They had always assumed they knew everything that happened in their galaxy. "The terms of the new union are fair," Minjay continued. "All member species will have one vote. Resources will be paid for at fair market rates. Technology will be shared through a common database. Military forces will be controlled by representatives from all species, not just the oldest ones." "And if we refuse?" asked High Counselor Zix. "Then you will not be part of the new union," Minjay said simply. "Your ships will be confined to your home systems. Your colonies will become independent. Your trade routes will be closed to you." He paused to let his words sink in. "But I don't think you will refuse. Because deep down, you know the old system was wrong. It was built on inequality, on exploitation. The new union will be stronger because it treats all members fairly." As the council members discussed among themselves, Representative Han Jun approached President Min Jae. "They're afraid," Han Jun said quietly. "For thousands of years they've been in control. They don't know how to be equal." Min Jae nodded. "Change is always frightening. But they will adapt. They have no choice." On the screens, reports were coming in from across the galaxy. Many younger species had already declared support for the new union. They had watched humans stand up to the elder races and were eager to join a more equal system. Even some colonies of the elder races were sending messages of support. Not everyone among the old species had approved of how the Concord was run. After hours of debate, High Counselor Zix finally spoke for the elder races. "We will need time to review these terms in detail," he said stiffly. "You have 24 hours, Minjay replied. "Choose wisely." As the human delegation left the chamber, Admiral Sung Min contacted them from the Retribution. "How did they respond?" she asked. "Just as we expected," President Minjay answered. "They're shocked. They're angry. But they're also beginning to understand reality." "And if they refuse our terms?" Sung Min asked. "They won't," Minjay said confidently. "They value their power and wealth too much to risk losing it all. They will accept the new reality." Outside, the council station, human ships maintained their positions. They made no aggressive moves, but their message remained clear. The old ways were over. A new age was beginning, one where humanity and all species would stand as equals in the stars. 6 months had passed since the day that became known across the galaxy as the Awakening. Today was the first official gathering of the Galactic Union. It took place on neutral ground, a massive space station newly built in orbit around a previously uninhabited world. The station was called Unity. It was beautiful, with wide windows that looked out at the stars. Unlike the old Concord station, it was designed to make all visitors feel welcome and equal. Ambassador Su Jin of Earth walked through the main hall. She had been chosen to represent humanity in the new Union Assembly. All around her, representatives from over 50 species prepared for the historic first meeting. "Quite different from the old council chamber, isn't it?" said a voice beside her. Su Jin turned to Caesar, the teller representative. His reptilian features formed what humans had learned was a smile. "Very different," Su Jin agreed. "No raised platforms, no separate entrances for elder and younger species. Just one room where everyone stands on the same floor." They walked together toward the assembly hall. The past 6 months had not been entirely smooth. The Vexar had attempted a counterattack 3 months ago. They had hidden military ships that they launched against human positions. The response had been swift and decisive. The human fleet, led by Admiral Sung Min, had disabled the Vexar ships without destroying them. Then, to make the message clear, they had neutralized the defense systems of the Vexar homeworld itself. No shots had been fired at the planet. No one had been hurt. But for 6 hours, the proud Vexar had been completely defenseless. That demonstration of human military superiority had convinced the remaining holdouts to accept the new reality. Now, representatives from all species gathered for the first formal session of the Union. "The first session of the Union Assembly is called to order," announced Su Jin as the presiding officer. "Today we begin the work of building a truly equitable interstellar community." She looked around the circular chamber. The elder races still sat together, their faces showing varying degrees of acceptance. The Vexar looked bitter. The Lumari seemed resigned. The Drath appeared to have adapted best to the new situation. "Our first order of business is to formally adopt the Union Charter," Su Jin continued. "All representatives have had 3 months to review the document. Are there any final questions before we vote?" High Counselor Zix, now simply Representative Zix of the Vexar, stood up. "I wish to know how technology sharing will be managed," he said, his voice stiff but controlled. "The Vexar have concerns about our advanced research being given to species who may not use it responsibly." Su Jin nodded. "A fair question. The Technology Exchange Council will include scientists from all member species. They will review all shared technologies to ensure they are used safely. But the days of one species hoarding knowledge are over." Zix sat down, clearly not entirely satisfied but unwilling to argue further. The vote was taken. The Union Charter passed with overwhelming support. Even most of the elder races voted in favor, having realized that the new system could benefit them too. As the formal business continued, Su-Jin found herself thinking about how much had changed in 6 months. The new protocols emphasized cooperation, fair trade, and mutual defense. Research from all member species was being combined to solve problems that had plagued the galaxy for centuries. Already, medical breakthroughs were extending lifespans across multiple species. Clean energy technology developed by humans was helping resource-poor worlds. Farming methods from the teller were increasing food production on dozens of planets. When the session ended, Su-Jin met with Fleet Admiral Tae-jin, the former commander, who had been promoted for his role in the Awakening. They stood by a large window overlooking the gathered ships of the Union fleet. "Do you think they understand yet?" she asked. Tae-jin considered the question. "The younger species certainly do. They've embraced the Union wholeheartedly. The elder species are still adjusting to the idea of equality. And if they don't adjust? Then they'll learn what we've known all along," Tae-jin replied. "That humans can be the most dangerous species in the galaxy precisely because we prefer not to be. Our tolerance was a choice, not a limitation." Su-Jin smiled. "When I was a child, I read old human stories about space. In those stories, aliens were always more advanced than us. They were always the teachers, and we were the students. It's strange how differently things turned out." "Perhaps that's why we succeeded," Tae-jin suggested. "We never believed we were born to rule the stars. We just wanted our fair place among them." Their conversation was interrupted by Dr. Yun-ha, who now headed the Union's scientific exchange. She approached with a data pad in her hands and excitement on her face. "We've done it," she said. "The combined research teams have created a unified theory of gravitic manipulation. With this, we can develop engines 10 times more efficient than current models." "That's wonderful news," Su-Jin said. "Which species made the breakthrough?" "That's the best part," Yun-ha replied. "It wasn't any single species. The Vexar provided the theoretical framework. The Novari contributed their crystal technology. Humans added the miniaturization techniques. And 3 other species solved key problems along the way. It's truly a Union achievement." As they discussed the discovery, Representative Zix approached. The Vexar looked uncomfortable, but he spoke with formal politeness. "Ambassador Su-Jin, I have been asked by my government to inquire about the new medical technologies being developed. We have a situation on one of our colony worlds, a disease our doctors cannot control. 6 months ago, the proud Vexar would never have asked humans for help. Now necessity was teaching them new ways." "Of course," Su-Jin replied graciously. "I'll have Dr. Yun-ha connect your medical team with our best researchers right away." After Zix left, Tae-jin smiled slightly. "Progress," he said. "Slow progress," Su-Jin agreed, "but progress nonetheless." As they looked out at the assembled ships of the Union fleet, human vessels alongside those of their allies and former enemies, they knew that the message had been received across the galaxy. Humanity's patience was generous but finite. Their cooperation was offered freely but could not be taken for granted, and no species would ever forget the moment when humanity's tolerance finally snapped. In that moment, a better galaxy had been born. The end.